It was one of my favorite books growing up, and I've always thought of it. And after producing it, Stephen King said I could choose from his titles, and this one wasn't available at the time and just became available 2 years ago, and got the rights and put it together.
I mean, it's cinema. It's Stephen King. It's Francis Lawrence. It's the actors. Everything about it is cinematic, and I feel like it's one of those stories that the reason we took a 400-page novel, depending on the print, and turned it into a movie is so people could be totally immersed in it. And I feel like it's meant to be watched on the big screen. Not that it won't be good in other forms, but I feel like this is where you should be watching it, in the theater.
Well, the premise alone is so off-putting. I thought, I'm not going to forget about being in it. I don't know if I can watch this movie. But Stephen King has an ability to establish a premise which grabs your attention. And once you get into it, you realize, oh, it's not about the guns and the violence. It's about the relationships of these young guys on the walk. They're the heart and soul of the movie. And I found that about the book, and I thought J.T. Mollett captured it perfectly in the screenplay. And then I had a conversation with Francis Lawrence. I wish he could be here tonight. He's overseas making another movie, but we just agreed on so much. I said, now I've got to do this. So I'm glad I did. It pushed me out of my comfort zone, that's for sure.
Well, I have a stepson named Lucas, who I'm probably obsessed with, who is about the age of these boys. And the thought of, this movie was written to sort of as a comment on the draft of the Vietnam War, and the idea of my son getting yanked away from me and sent to do this thing that he didn't necessarily want to do. I don't know. I wanted to be a part of the story. I wanted to show what I think a lot of mothers have gone through over, generations, centuries of watching their sons sacrifice themselves for a country.
I think it's, first of all, Stephen King, Francis Lawrence, they're just such amazing filmmakers, writer. I really love this story because it feels unique. It feels like something that feels, in the past, but also very current. And I think that the young men in this are just, they are young men. And I just think, highlighting different sides of what it means to be that. I think it's, I just love that in the script. So I play a character called Peter McVries, and he's had a hard life, and I think through his struggles he finds ways to connect with people and realize that life is about other people, not just himself. So yeah.
Oh my God, I feel like the kind of nice bit about him is that he isn't that unique. I feel like he's feeling something that everyone feels at that age, and that's kind of hard to play truthfully. And you hope that everyone kind of sees that and goes, I relate to that person. He was just allowing of questions, which is kind of all you can ask in a director, is for them not to be so kind of set in their ways and allow for each movie to affect them differently. And he allowed this movie to affect him, I hope, completely differently. I've never worked with him before, but it felt that way. And he was incredibly giving to us and incredibly open for us to question everything.
Well, I've always wanted to work with Francis. The cast was brilliant. It's a great project. I actually read the book when I was 2 years ago prior to reading the script, and I loved it, so it's great to be a part of it.
When I got the audition, I learned that I didn't get that much information. I think it was just 2 pages and make my own monologue, and that's what drew me first, was making my own monologue. And when I got a call back and I learned that who was all behind it, I think that kind of sweetened the deal. I was like, oh my God, I wasn't expecting this. This was all unplanned. I thought it was just going to be an audition and boom, that's it, on to the next thing.
There's so many good things about working with it, but I mean, the brotherhood is incredible. We're all super close, and I think we made something really special that I hope resonates with people for a long time.
I mean, absolutely. I read the book 3 times before I stepped on set, but what drew me to this? All these boys. I mean, J.T. Mollner, Francis Lawrence, Stephen King, Lionsgate, it's a match made in heaven. And then you throw Cooper and David on top of that, and I get to join their ranks. Maybe the greatest honor of my career so far. Francis gave us so much freedom from the wardrobe to the props and to the character choices that he really allowed us to make these characters our own. And I think that's why you see such visceral performances in this film because he gave us this freedom and he allowed us to find the characteristics that we recognize within ourselves, but also within these characters. And thanks to him, he led us with such conviction that we weren't able to fail because he knew what we were doing there. And so even if we would make a choice that didn't necessarily work, we knew that we were safe because he was guiding us.
I played Gary Barkovich in the film. He's number 5. And I think what sets him apart is that he definitely feels like an antagonist maybe a little bit at the beginning, but I think he honestly really just wants to have friends. And this is like the first time he's with guys his own age in a way that's actually really wonderful and exciting, even though it's in the most grim circumstances imaginable. So yeah, I think that made it a pretty specific journey for me. But again, then making friends with these guys genuinely, it became a really, really beautiful experience. So fortunately for that character, his desires were met through the experience. But yeah, he's an interesting guy for sure.
JT's script was so there was so much room for characterization. There was so much room for me to bring something interesting to the character because, Hank speaks with a very specific kind of cadence, and that was something that I brought myself, and I was like, I hope these guys are going to be okay with it, and they were. So I'm happy that they let me play around with that.